Hello, good morning everyone, and welcome to this morning's webinar. My name's Jackie, and today I'm going to be taking you through the chart of accounts as part of our management reports badge. Now, just a word of warning, it is my last ever webinar, so apologies if I do get a little bit teary towards the end. Very sad times. I'm not leaving Sage, just moving on to a different team. So thank you for everyone that did reach out to us yesterday to find out what was going on. So today, yes, we're going to be looking at the chart of accounts, and yesterday Matt went through nominal codes and he explained about the structure of the nominal codes, and today we're going to build on that. He's kind of given you the foundation. I'm going to build on that a bit more today. So just a reminder, it is part of the badge. You do need to attend 5 of the 6 topics to earn your badge plus the quiz. So the quiz is important. That is a mandatory part of the series there. So please do get yourself registered for the quiz if you haven't already done so. And if you're topping up from the last series, so we did do these early in April, and you're just filling in the sessions, please just do make sure you do the quiz there. I'll quickly do the housekeeping. Appear to be missing the housekeeping slide, but as always, we do have our questions panel, which is on the right-hand side there. It's the icon that looks like a speech bubble with the question mark in the middle, and you are more than welcome to send your questions throughout today's session. So don't hang on to the end. We don't want you to forget your questions, so please do submit those throughout, and we'll keep on top of those. We've got Michael and Matt and also Abby on hand for your questions today. Also, there is a handout, so if you want to take a copy of that, it's not a huge handout because we are going to be very much on the demonstration today. So you can take a copy of that using the icon. It looks like a document with the folder corner, and that will allow you to take a copy of today's slides. Now, what we're going to be covering today, first of all, what is the chart of accounts? And then we're going to jump into some demonstrations, so showing you how to add, edit, or delete nominal codes and the chart of accounts, and also the categories. So we're going to go into a bit more about the categories. A question already coming through around the categories and changing them around. So we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about floating categories. And then finally, just checking for errors in your chart of accounts as well. So making sure that you've got a complete chart of accounts, that all your nominal codes are included on your reports, and also when you do any year-end processes. And after that, we'll talk about some upcoming webinars. So we do already have our next badge available. We're doing a repeat of VAT proficiency. I'll give you more information on that towards the end of the session. Okay, so first of all, what is the chart of accounts? So as Matt went through yesterday, he showed you how to set up those individual nominal codes. But the chart of accounts provides structure for those nominal codes and groups them together for your management reports, your profit and loss, and your balance sheet. So it helps the software to determine whether a nominal code is a profit and loss code or it is a balance sheet account. And as default, you get a chart of accounts with the software. So you will all have a chart of accounts in your software automatically. Now, one thing you're probably not aware of is you can have multiple layouts of charts of accounts, and you may use them for different purposes. And we're going to show you some examples of that today. You can actually have unlimited chart of accounts layouts. Okay, so you might want reports in different formats, and the chart of accounts can help you with that. So where do we find our chart of accounts? Well, it's in our nominal code module. So nominal codes, and along the top, you've got the chart of accounts. Okay, so this is the point. I'm going to jump into a demonstration there. Just bring the data set across. I'm just going to close that window down. So I'm in my nominal codes window at the moment, and it's along the top here that we've got the chart of accounts. It's alongside those management reports I mentioned. So if I was to run, for example, a profit and loss right now, just bring this one across. And just do that to preview so you can see. You will recognize that when I do this, just taking a moment there, it asks me not only the period I want to run this for, but my chart of accounts. Okay, so I can pick which chart of accounts I want to run. So as I mentioned earlier, we get quite a few queries of, can I run a profit and loss to show just certain nominal codes or show them in a different way? Then that can be achieved through the chart of accounts by creating different charts of accounts. So here I can pick which one I wish to use, and I can run the report from there. Can do the same with the balance sheet. So again, when we use the balance sheet, we just run that to preview as well, get the criteria window. Again, it asks us for what chart of accounts. And there are other reports in the software that also allow us to select a chart of accounts. So they tend to be along the lines of management reports, budgeting reports, etc. Okay, so let's actually take a look at the chart of accounts first of all. So going into chart of accounts at the top, and what you will definitely have is one chart of accounts. Okay, you can't have no chart of accounts. I will show you something will prevent you from deleting the last one remaining. But as you can see, I've got 3 charts of accounts there at the moment, and I can add more and more if I want to. So first of all, I'm going to go along the options along the top here and explain each of those. So first of all, if I was to add one, what that does is it creates me a blank chart of accounts. I'm just going to call this one test and add. And as you can see there, it's opened up a separate window, which I'll just expand so you can see. And there's no nominal codes in here. So across here, what we're expecting to see are nominal codes. So when you add one, it just essentially gives you a blank one. So that's great. If you want a blank canvas, you want to start with your own structure, that's the option for you. However, you may just want somewhere to start. You might want a starting point. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to show you my default layout of accounts. So I'm just going to pop into this one just to show you what a default one tends to look like. So what we've got first of all is in the top corner, we've got the 2 reports. So when I'm using the profit and loss tab, it's explaining there which subcategories come on the profit and loss, and also what further subcategories for each area. So I've got my sales, and if I click in sales, you can see my sales nominal codes and the different ranges that fall within there. If I moved on to purchases, you can see the ranges of the purchase nominal codes, and down to overheads, you can see how they are grouped together. But not only that, you can see how that will show on the report. So this bit here, this main part of the window, is going to show you a preview of what that will look on your report. So when you start to make changes, you might start to edit ranges, you might need to create your own ranges with some more customized items on there. You can start to see how that's going to report for you. So just as an example, you may not want to refer to your sales as sales. You might just want to refer to it as income. So if I was to change the word income on here from sales, you can see on the report now, it's changed the main category to income, and I can change then the categories underneath as well. So each of these can be amended. But also we've got the ranges here as well. So we can extend ranges, we can make ranges shorter, and we can add in ranges too. Now we'll come to that very soon. So just wanted to show you the basics there, first of all, of that chart of accounts. I'll say yes to those changes. So the next one is to edit a chart of accounts. So that's what we've just done there. We've looked at editing that one. We will go into more detail in a moment. But what I do want to show you is probably one that I use the most, and that's the copy feature. So when I've created these 2 charts of accounts, or at least this one, what I haven't wanted to do is start on a blank canvas. I've wanted to start with a structure that I can then build on. And my recommendation is, if you have this feature, is to use that so that you don't overwrite your initial one. So try and leave your default layout of accounts as default, so that you've got something to reflect back on of what did it start out like. Then you can create your own copy of that default and work on that. So leave your template untouched, and you can start on your copy of that. Now that feature unfortunately isn't available in Essentials. Okay, so it's only in Standard and Professional. Okay, so if you can't see that, please do just check your variant. But what that allows me to do is click copy, and what that does is give me absolute copy of that I can then start to work on amending my ranges, etc. Now the next one is make default. Okay, now this is the default that will be picked up by your reports, and it also prevents deletion. Okay, so this one here has been made the current default, and I can check that because it says that at the bottom. Now that means when I come to run a profit and loss report, just gone into the wrong one, profit and loss, and it gives me those criteria values, it automatically picks up that chart of accounts. Now we can change it very easily using the drop down, but we know we want to try and save as many clicks as possible during the day, that if you're going to use that chart of accounts on a regular basis, make that the default one. So that's what your make default feature is. What that also does is if it's the default, is it prevents you deleting it. So all of these other nominal codes I could delete. So I can delete my test one. But if I try to delete the one that is current, I get this message here. So it prevents the deletion. So that means if you are down to one chart of accounts, if you try to delete it, it would be your current one. You wouldn't be able to do that. Now the options for print list into Excel essentially do what they say. So it will print a list of your chart of accounts, or it will send a list of your chart of accounts to Excel. Now they're not features I've really used that often. Okay, so you can, but I don't really have any recommendations on those ones because they're not as well used, but the option is there. So that's the basics of the chart of accounts. And what we're going to do next is look at just making some amendments to a chart of accounts, so you can start to work out how you can customize your chart of accounts to be a bit more applicable to you and your business. So I'm just going to go back into chart of accounts, and I'm just going to go into my copy of my default layout because, as I mentioned, I want to keep my template clear. I want to amend on this one here. Now I can either edit or I can double click and it will open that chart of accounts for me. So we did a couple of amends before. I changed the word sales to income. I changed this from product sales to just sales. But what I might also want to do is change the ranges that are included in that subcategory. So I might, for example, just want this to go up to 4049 and give me a little bit more reporting capacity. And essentially slot another range into here above sales. Now this was a question we got earlier, was can I reorder these without starting from scratch? So yes, you can reorder them, but it may be a little bit work involved in order to get that working, but it just means that your reports are going to do exactly what you want once you've done them. So if I was, for example, trying to insert a range in here, what I would need to use is my F7 key, and that is going to insert a line. Now this message here just says inserting a line will move all categories down by one. You'll lose any information on the last line. Now that's only if you've got 80 ranges already. So if I was using all 80 down at the bottom of this long list, if I was using all 80 and I tried to add a new range, it would kick the last one off the list. So I'd need to start then refining my ranges to include slightly more nominal codes. Now I'm okay because I only have 5, so we'll be fine. So I'm just going to say yes to that, but just a heads up, just in case you've got a really complex chart of accounts going on there. And what that's done is it's just inserted a line right there, and I'm just going to call this sales north, for example. And I'm going to pop in a new range here, 4050 to 4099. And that's created me a new range, which is now reported on the chart of accounts and you can see it's added into there. And I can add, as I mentioned, up to 80 different ranges in there. So any changes we make can be reflected across here. Now, if I wanted to remove a group or a line, then I can do that quite easily as well by using the F8 key. So if I just wanted to remove it, use F8, and that will take that line out of the chart of accounts for me. Now, that's been the profit and loss. It's exactly the same on the balance sheet. So again, on the balance sheet, you've got slightly different groups. You've got your fixed assets, your current assets, but the principle is exactly the same of adding your category in, giving a range of low and high, and that will be what's included on the reports. So what I'm just going to do next is I'm going to come out of this one because I just want to try and explain why you might want more than one chart of accounts. Okay, a great question has just come through of why does my profit and loss say partial? We are definitely going to cover that very soon, so don't worry, I am getting there. So first of all, I just want to give you an example here. So I'm just going to go back to my default accounts. Okay, now I've got a range here for sales of 4,000 to 4,099. Okay, so when I report on that, it's pulling through the details of 99 nominal codes. Now, for some people, that might be great for a very high level overview that you might want to give to, say, your director, but you might want something more in depth if you are at a different level where you need that sort of granular information of exactly what those sales are for. So essentially, you could potentially create a range per nominal code. So this is an example of high level. This sales includes 4,000 to 4,099. But what I also have is for those that do need that sort of more in-depth information is I've got a detailed sales chart of accounts. And when I log into this one, you can see this is a much more detailed report. So within here, under my sales, I've got sales north, which is just a single nominal code. I've got sales south, again, single nominal code. So you may have some nominal codes that are heavily used that you want to be printed on individually. So that's why we have customers who do have multiple charts of accounts, because they may have a very high level one and then a very detailed chart of accounts for different scenarios. Not everybody wants to know the in and out details of every single nominal code, but some people may need to see that for their roles. But as you can see, as I get further down, not all of them are individual nominal codes. We still have some which are full ranges. So just remember that limit of 80. Okay, now I'm going to pop back to the slides for a second because I'm just going to very quickly discuss what we're going to be looking at next. Let's pop onto the slides there, so we're into the demonstration. So this just shows you here how these tend to be grouped together by default. So you might want a completely different nominal structure. There is nothing to stop you doing that as long as you are using the chart of accounts to tell your software exactly which ones are my profit and loss codes and which ones are for my balance sheet. Okay, so we're going to just move on to a slightly different topic, and then we're going to cover those errors or those partial statuses that people are mentioning there. And this is a floating category. Okay, now again, your software comes with a floating category, but if you start to make amendments, you might find that some of your codes maybe sit outside what's already set there as default, and you need to add some more in. So floating categories are nominal codes that are on your balance sheet. So this is on your balance sheet only. And these are within current assets and current liabilities. And these particular nominal codes can actually be an asset or a liability, depending on their balance, whether it's a debit or a credit. So the example I always use is just your bank account. Everyone's got a bank account. Everyone understands a bank account can be in credit or debit. So it might be that you've got money in the bank or you're overdrawn. So if you've got money in the bank, that's an asset to you. If you're overdrawn, it's a liability because that is money owed back to the bank. So it's always a good one to remember your floating categories. So for that reason, we have some nominal codes which can be both depending on their debit or credit status. So these tend to be your bank accounts and also your VAT liability, because you might find yourself in a situation where you are owed a refund for VAT for various reasons. So again, I'm just going to show you these ones. I'm just going to pop back to the data. And I'm just going to go into my default and edit and into the balance sheet. So remember, they are only on the balance sheet and they are within current assets. So when I've gone into current assets, you can see my normal nominal codes that are in assets. So we've got stock, we've got debtors, we've got deposits and cash, but just underneath we've got these floating nominal accounts. So it includes my bank accounts from 1200 to 1209 and also the VAT liability from 2200 to 2209. Now, if I was to try and add one in here, I'm just going to scroll down to see if I can find one. So if I try and include my bank deposit account, what that does immediately is, because we're adding it into the floating area, it says, do I want to copy it to the current liabilities? So automatically, I'm adding this as an asset. Do I want to include it as a liability? So I can say yes to that. And I'll just do the same here and just pop a name in, just as a test. So then when I go into current liabilities, you can see it is automatically copied across for me. So I only have to enter it once. Saying yes to that has copied it across into the current liabilities for me. Now I am going to intentionally remove that, okay? And I'm just going to say, no, I don't want to copy it to current assets. Just check that that's set up, because that moves us nicely onto the next topic in just a moment. So these floating categories, again, like I say, if the bank account was overdrawn, then that would just show as a liability and that would impact the balance sheet report. But if you had money in the bank account, then again, that would reflect correctly on the balance sheet report for you. Okay, just going to save the changes there. Okay, and as I've saved the changes, we've just come up with a message to say incomplete chart of accounts. So that moves us very nicely onto the next section, and that is checking your chart of accounts. So let's just go back there. So again, just a reminder, if you've got any questions, please do get them across to us. We've got the team on hand, so please do get those for you. We've got the message there about the incomplete chart of accounts, and this just ties back very nicely to the question that we've had today, and we also had a question yesterday on this as well, and that is what we're reflecting there. So it says partial next to it now, okay? So the term partial means we don't have a complete chart of accounts. So those two messages were in fact linked together. And it is really important that if you find the word partial, you work out why. So it means we've got errors, and there's quite a few things that can cause these errors. So sometimes it's that the code is completely not represented. You may have codes that are in your nominal structure, but not on the chart of accounts. You may have ranges that overlap each other. So if your ranges overlap, it means they're potentially being picked up on reports twice. You might be in the position where you've created a range within a range. Okay, so when you've been playing around and trying to get it set up, have you accidentally created a range within a range? And the last one is that you have a nominal code that's part of one floating category, but not part of the other floating category. So to check this, what we should be doing is opening up the chart of accounts. So if you find you've got the word partial, just go into check on that chart of accounts. And what it may just do is say you have a complete chart of accounts, no errors found. But if you do get one that tells you you need to print, preview, or save to file or email, then absolutely run that, and it will give you more information as to what's going on. So what we have here is I have the following ranges overlap onto one another. So I've shown that nominal code 1210 as both a current asset under deposits and cash and a current asset under bank. So what I would need to do at this point is decide which one's right and correct it. So if I know it's already shown as current assets, deposit and cash, I maybe need to deal with this one, current assets under bank. And there's sort of no right or wrong one here in terms of which one do I amend. This is the decision you would need to make, which one is correct. So we certainly couldn't tell you, oh, well, just go and delete that one. You need to know which one is correct for your reporting requirements. So I'm going to make the decision now that I'm going to remove this one here because it's what I've just added in. It's 1210 to 1210, and just going to go into the balance sheet to do so. So into current assets. So you can see now that it's given us that clue, 1210 is included up here in this range here, and it's also here. So when we run that balance sheet report, it includes it twice. So we're going to be double accounting for that on the report. Now, one thing I could do is I could change my low range from 1210 to 1211 and leave this one be. But for the purposes of today, I'm just going to remove this one here. So using the F8 key takes the whole line out for us. So again, if we check, just going to say yes to save changes. I'll say yes to that. We now have no errors in the chart of accounts. So when we close down, once I save it, it should remove that partial status, which it has. So it's removed that chart, that partial status. That means I've got a complete chart of accounts. I'm just going to go into this one again. So I'm just going to show you on here. I'm going to go into edit. I'm going to run a check on this one. I'm expecting a few pages of errors. So if I bring this one across, as you can see, because it's a blank chart of accounts, I've got several pages there. I've got 3 pages telling me what's not represented. So if you are building a new chart of accounts from complete scratch, it is absolutely a good idea to be doing regular checks to make sure that you're representing all of your codes. If these codes aren't in use, so for example, if 8202 wasn't in use and I wasn't planning on using it, you could just delete the nominal code. Okay, so that is another alternative too. But you can only do that if it's got no activity and it's not a control account. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the demonstrations. So if you do have any questions, please do get them across. But we still have a few things to show you first of all, but just before we end the session. So there's plenty of time for you to get your questions across there. So don't forget, we do have more webinars this week as part of the badge, but also those that aren't part of the badge as well. So we've got additional sessions on company archive and year end as well. So keep an eye out for those ones. Okay, so I'm just going to close this one down and I'm going to bring across our help centre. I'm going to play you a video in just a moment, but I just want to show you where you can find more help and support. So if you go to sage.co.uk/help, pop into Sage 50 accounts, you can type into this box anything you want. So if you're looking for help with the chart of accounts or chart of accounts errors, there is a dedicated article on chart of accounts errors on our help centre, and it will show you how to resolve each of those different errors if you're not quite sure. You can also type into here webinars, and that will take you to our webinars page. So we've got our webinar recordings and we've also got our live sessions there. So webinar recordings has absolutely every webinar we've all ever done available on our webinar recordings page. So if you're looking for something different, have a look on there. I'm sure we have covered that for you. But if I go into webinars, And in here, you can see our upcoming topics. So not only do we have this month's badge, which is the Management Reports Repeat, we've got Copilot, which is going to give you more information onto using AI within your software, covering things like managing debt, managing your inventory, and just basically seeing how AI can work for you and make your life a little bit easier. Further down, we've got our other topics. So like I say, we've got a few other topics dotted in between. So we've got company archives, we've got running your year end, and also importing transactions, which is a really key one. But we're doing a collaboration next Monday. We're collaborating with our payroll team to go through Nominal Link. That's a really good one for posting your payroll information across from payroll into your account software. So lots and lots coming up there. Now, in the meantime, I am going to just show you a very quick video of what we've got coming up in June. Okay, so this is a video about our VAT sessions. So they are back by popular demand. Last year we did the VAT badge. It was one of our most popular badges. We're bringing it back for 2025. So please do have a watch of this video. And if you're interested, get yourself registered. They're also available to book now.
Hi everyone, I'm Michael and I'm here to tell you about our upcoming series of VAT proficiency webinars. Session 1 focuses on tax codes. Do you understand the difference between T0, T2 and T9? It's a common support query. If not, come along and we'll get you up to speed. Session 2 looks at preparing and running through the VAT return wizard up to the reconciliation stage. Session 3 follows on very closely from this as we run through the tasks in step 3 of the VAT return wizard. These include posting VAT transfer journals, entering your payment or receipt, and of course the process of submitting your return online to HMRC. In session 4 we'll highlight some of the most common queries that we regularly support our customers with. And in session 5 we'll dive into the VAT verification checks that form part of the VAT return wizard. Session 6 explores the process of checking your VAT return using the key reports that are available in Sage 50 accounts. Our final session looks at corrections, and if you need to post one, what the impact is. As you can see, there's a wide range of topics available.
And don't forget our mandatory quiz. Attend 6 of the 7 topics plus the quiz to earn your badge. These sessions run from the 9th to the 20th of June. As usual, these are free to attend. All you have to do is visit our registration page and get yourself registered. Once you earn your badge, you can share your achievements through our new badging platform, Accredible. Get yourself registered and we'll see you there.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So as I mentioned, if you have missed any of the management report sessions, they are available. We're running them this week and next week up to Friday, but please do not forget to get registered for the quiz if you've missed that one. Once we've finalised that, we'll be looking to issue the badge the following week. So please do keep an eye out for your badges in the week following Friday the 16th of May. Now I think we're on top of the questions, and I believe we are indeed. So like I say, we've got lots of webinars coming up over the next few weeks and months, so please do get yourself registered for them. Okay, so with that in mind, we're going to look to end the session early there. Not so many questions today, but please do join us for one of our other sessions and we'll get as many questions as we can answered throughout this series for you. So with that, it's time for me to say goodbye. So thank you very much to all of our regular customers. Thank you so much to my team. And like I say, it's been a pleasure to be part of this team for the last 5.5 years. And I will miss the team hugely and our customers. So I just want to say thank you very much to everyone for joining us. Take care, and I'm leaving you in very, very good hands. But goodbye for now.